Welcome to another episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. My name is Zach. I host this podcast from week to week. We talk about all things general aviation, especially if you're a student pilot or thinking about becoming a student pilot. We often have CFIs on the show or even airline pilots. So if you're new here, thank you for joining in. Today we're talking with Julie. Julie is new to the Thrust team, and she's going to be helping our students understand what the career path might look like for them. So today we're going to talk a lot about interviews, the airline, some of Julie's history and her expertise, and just a few things you can do to help prepare yourself to get into the airlines or wherever you're looking to go after being a student pilot. So without further ado, Julie, would you mind introducing yourself for us? I know you, but maybe just one more time.
Well, my name is Julie Kable, and I've been with Thrust about 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to be here. I've been impressed with the people that I work with, and the students are outstanding. And I look forward to using my experience and my expertise to help them pursue the career of their dreams.
And briefly, would you mind telling us what your what your role is here at Thrust?
Career Services Liaison.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's get into it. You know, I'm a lot newer to aviation than you are. Is there something that brought you to aviation in the first place?
I think so. My dad was an Air Force pilot and
Okay.
also a physician. So he had a really cool job. He worked with NASA to create some of the things when the space program was really young. So aviation's something I've always shared with my father. I did learn to fly. I soloed a couple times.
Okay.
And then I got hired with Delta, and I thought, gee, do I want to tootle around Executive or Redbird Airport, or do I want to go to Paris?
Okay.
So I quit flying and went and flew with Delta. Just
Awesome.
traveled.
That's really cool. You flew with Delta as a pilot, or
No. Just went as a passenger.
Oh, just making sure I understand. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But were you in Paris? Did you get to travel as much as you wanted to?
I've traveled so much.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to traveling a little bit more myself. I've been getting out there a little bit more lately. Okay, so was there something that kind of got you started? Like, how did you get started in the first place? What were you doing before you got into aviation? Did you come right out of school?
I did a couple odd jobs. I have my degree in marketing.
Okay.
And while I was working I was working for an insurance agency. Then I learned how to fly, and the young man that taught me how to fly was just crazy about Delta.
Okay.
And I just found a job with Delta.
That's awesome.
Actually, they hired me. I was one of the first 3 women ever hired to work in air cargo. They hired one for each shift.
Okay.
And when I got there that very first day, they were so surprised to see me. They'd never had a female in there. And I was surprised about that too.
Yeah.
But they hired us because they thought we could type the airbills more quickly.
Okay.
But I quickly earned their respect and got to sit where we gave quotes, and you'd see if freight would fit on an airplane, that.
Okay.
Which really worked out well because my first job in marketing with Delta Airlines was in cargo.
Okay.
So I loved it.
That was a nice transition.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, a lot of people plan to fly forever, but I've also talked to a handful of people on the podcast that branch out into a different direction, kind of like what you're talking about now too. I'm sure you might have a little insight on all the different careers that are in aviation.
So
right?
many.
So maybe that's something we can get into later. Aviation is a very niche field, and I kind of like to know what keeps people motivated in aviation. Is there something that has kept you in aviation? Have you ever considered maybe going into a different industry?
I think aviation is just a fascinating field to work in. I
Mm.
particularly like the people. There's a common thread in airline employees, and that is trust.
Okay.
It has to be there. That is just an underlying thing. So there's trust, there's camaraderie, and I see that at Thrust also.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever thought about branching out. Every single day at an airline is different. A competitor does something, and then you react, or you do something and they react.
Right.
So it's just constantly changing and always interesting. And the flight benefits are incredible. I've just enjoyed traveling so very much.
It's cool as you say those things. Those are all the things that we think is great about the airlines, but you're saying they are. So that's really awesome. Well, I want to ask about what your role here is at Thrust. We'll branch all that to kind of fill in the gaps here in a bit, but you're now working with us here at Thrust. Can you explain a little bit about what brought you here and what you plan to do here?
Yes.
Mhm.
My official title is Career Services Liaison,
Okay.
and I was hired to fill in a gap that we have at Thrust, and that is we provide all this excellent training
Mhm.
and the roadmap, and then after you complete your CFII, it's kind of like, now what? So
Yes.
that's when I'm going to step in
Mhm.
and try and help the students that we're unable to hire find a path and find a way to build their hours and uh, branch out into whatever uh, field of aviation they choose.
That makes sense. Okay, great. And that sounds very exciting to have you here for that. And you seem like you've been in aviation and around aviation enough to help us with that. So we're excited to have you. You were telling me a little bit about it earlier, but I'll ask again. How did that come to happen? How did you get into Thrust in the first place? How did you get involved with us?
Well, I heard about the opportunity. Actually, I did interview for a sales position,
Okay.
and Jeremy said that there was somebody that he liked better, but that they really liked me. Y'all
Okay.
liked me, and
Yes.
wanted to create this position.
Mm,
And I've not worked with anybody on this level.
mhm.
Just starting the careers, I've been working with our interviewing pilots at American Airlines, for example.
Right.
They're handpicked and just a special lot of person.
Yeah.
They are all really interested in paying it forward, and
Right.
I just thought doing this would be something interesting and new, and
Yeah.
also thought it might be fun to fly a little bit, which I've gotten to do,
Right.
and just uh, a new experience, a new adventure.
You went from Delta to American Airlines to work in hiring. Can you talk a little bit about how you transitioned into that opportunity?
Well, I worked for Delta for
Mhm.
11 years, and all in Dallas Fort Worth, and
Yeah.
Delta was as big as American at one point here.
Okay.
And the very last thing I did, working with the director of marketing, was a study to try and keep Delta here. Delta was really considering pulling out because we
Mm.
were scrapping with American for every single passenger.
Wow.
And Delta did decide to go ahead and pull back in Dallas Fort Worth and
Okay.
put their resources elsewhere.
Mhm.
So at the time, marketing was offered a severance package with
Okay.
10 years of flight benefits. And they said, you can take this, and if you do, you may need to move. Well,
Mhm.
at that point, I was 8 months pregnant with my first daughter, and I
Okay.
really couldn't move. It just wasn't in the cards.
Right.
So I took the severance package, and I thought, I will go get a hotel job to go with
Mm.
my flight benefits. So 8 months pregnant, I went interviewing, and people, I don't know why they didn't hire me, but it turned out that I ended up staying home. I have two daughters, and I
Okay.
stayed home and raised them.
Okay.
Did a lot of volunteering,
Yeah.
and also helped my husband with his practice.
Mhm.
So when they were done with college and all that had passed, I knew definitely that I wanted to go back to work.
Okay.
So I applied and applied and applied, and finally got on with American.
I'm sure you were itching for that.
Yes, yes, I missed my
Yeah.
flight benefits.
Exactly, especially after I mean, they lasted a while, it sounds like,
Yes,
which is nice.
yes.
But it would have been nice to have gotten that whole. I think that I see what you were doing there, the hotel job at the same time, because that could have come with its own benefits, right?
Yes, hotel benefits are good too.
Yeah, I love that. um, okay, so once you got to American Airlines, is there? eh, What did you learn about that side of the business when it comes to hiring and things like that?
I learned so much. I learned a lot about the corporation, the
Mhm.
structure.
Okay,
So at every base, there's a director of flight, and then
okay,
underneath them are chief pilots. And then we had 15,000 pilots at American Airlines.
wow.
Um, I just learned a lot about what all goes into it,
Mhm.
and how hard they work.
Mhm.
All the studying that never, ever, ever goes away,
Wow.
and the tremendous responsibility,
Mhm.
um, how much money they make,
Uh-huh.
and just a great group of people.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes.
I got you. Okay, well, that's it's really interesting to have you here and having had worked with American. That's really interesting. Obviously, we have a partnership with Envoy, which is great way to get into American.
Hmm.
And we have students who do the cadet program and things like that. So that's great. Do you know much about how the cadet program works? I know that since I mean I don't know how involved you were in any of that.
Well, so the cadet program is carefully tied to American.
Uh-huh.
Um, there are a group of students when they get, or pilots at that point,
Yeah.
when they get their hours, they call it flow to American
Okay.
Airlines.
Right.
However, we have to be careful about how many we take,
Right.
because if we take too many, we always take the captains, of course, then that puts a gap for Envoy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very timed and predictable flow. How many
Exactly.
we take, how many we don't.
Yes, I
So
gotcha. It's it seems like American does intentionally keep an eye on the pipeline of students that, or not students, but pilots that would be coming in.
yes.
Okay, awesome.
The other thing that's kind of interesting is Envoy and American have mirrored their training programs.
Yeah.
So when you go to American, you've already done that very same thing. It's just a different airplane. So they really work to make that a smooth, easy transition for you.
Okay, awesome. That's actually that's something I've wondered about is what's it like to change to go from the regional to the main lines.
Yes.
There we go. I want to ask you before we move on to a little bit more about the airlines. Is there one thing that candidates constantly kind of underestimate when applying to a regional or a major airline?
I think one of the things that's always missed is accuracy on your application.
Okay.
Um, and I've told a couple students that I've talked to, keep a log. They require 10 years of employment history and 10 years of addresses where you've
Wow.
lived, and that's not hard if you start right now and just keep a list.
Yeah.
But all of that is vetted. I mean, every single thing on the application has to be 100% true. I think other than medicine, pilots are the most vetted career that there is, because it's an enormous responsibility.
Absolutely.
And American and Envoy are responsible to be sure that they've hired the person that's on the paper.
Right. I think that's an amazing insight. That can be. I've had to do that for. I think I did some sort of job application some years ago, and I had to try to scrounge up. I mean, I moved a lot. I had to try to scrounge up all those addresses. So now I keep a running list of almost anything, like literally anything. I have a list of it. Great. So I want to talk a little bit about what the airlines are looking for, and that's a good start. Beyond hours, our students graduate, right, and they'll have 1,500 hours. Well, they won't have 1,500 hours until they build it, but by the time they're applying to the airlines, they'll have 1,500 hours, and they're wondering, how do I stand out amongst the rest of the candidates? My question is, beyond hours and ratings, what does a competitive applicant look like on paper or in person?
I think volunteering,
Mm-hmm.
and that translates into leadership roles. With
Mm-hmm.
American, it shows that you're a leader, and that translates into being a captain
Mm.
or a first officer that can make good decisions,
Right.
that has the leadership qualities. So I think definitely volunteering.
Right.
I think keeping your logbook in pristine condition, it says a lot about you as a person,
Okay.
and it's a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
I think um, networking is just so incredibly important. If at American, if you have a pilot or an internal employee that writes a letter, it goes in a special spot on the application. They have to upload it to your application.
Okay.
So that's a huge bonus.
That's awesome.
And let's see. Other than that, I think the attitude of wanting to pay it forward, to give back, is just such a theme in aviation.
Yes.
And if somebody can pick up on that while they're interviewing with you, then that's a huge thing.
That's been a very consistent theme here on the podcast, actually. We talked to so many of the airline pilots and retired airline pilots, and even DPEs that will say that, man, they just want to continue to stay involved because they've maybe retired, but there's like, how do I still do the thing? And you give back. That's all that's left to do sometimes.
Hmm.
I think that's something that's special about aviation. How much does it really matter? I'm kind of jumping around here a
Okay.
little bit. How much does it really matter to consider things like 141 versus Part 61, military, regional, regional stepping, or maybe even like corporate jobs? Like, it, I'm wondering if there's always a better path. You know what I mean? How flexible can it be to try to get to the airlines?
I think all of the paths are good,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think one stands out more than another.
Mm-hmm.
Military is always strong
Mm-hmm.
because you've got so many flight hours.
Right.
I think whatever training you have, it will get you to the same spot.
Right. Exactly. And do you see if someone's sitting there and questioning, man, and this is probably a lot of people here, okay, is should I go Part 61? Should I go Part 141? And maybe you don't have any information on them. What's the first thing you would try to bring up to them or ask them about to try to help them decide?
I would ask them what's their learning style.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need something that's more structured,
Mm-hmm.
or are you super motivated and you just can make it happen on your own?
Right.
I'd ask about finances.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really personal decision, and I
Right.
think it offers a couple different paths for whatever kind of a person you are, whatever
Right.
learning environment is going to work best for you. I think that's really it. And then also the credibility of the school,
Mm-hmm.
the safety. That's the very first thing I think.
Right, especially the safety. Yes, and
Yes.
that does act well. Hopefully, it doesn't vary. But I know that we have very new planes, and some people may not have the newest of planes. Now, every flight school is probably operating a flight worthy. I don't want to make a claim that someone's not flying a plane that is airworthy. So, but one thing you said was the credibility of the school. Does that really happen? Do applicants go into interviews, and do recruiters or interviewers actually take into account what school they went to?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Unless there's a partnership,
Hmm. Okay.
which is what I'm here to do, is create more of those.
Okay.
So a standout of a company, but I think most are not.
Hmm.
One of my real big goals while I'm here is to make sure that our thrust students' logbooks are pristine.
Hmm.
It would be my goal that when they're interviewing somewhere like American, they'd look at that and go, "Oh, they're from Thrust,"
Right.
and just know and expect
Okay.
just superiority.
I understand. Okay, gotcha. And that's something I have wondered a little bit. I know that some schools do have a reputation, some don't. But I was wondering if that's like, oh, we see that all the time. On that note, what role? I mean, does social media and like a personal brand ever play a role in vetting candidates?
I think social media can be a huge downfall
Hmm.
if there are stuff on there that is not complimentary or something that you wouldn't want to bring out. Look what I did
Yeah.
on an interview. I
Hmm.
think I think one of the pieces of advice that I would give any flight student or anybody that wants to become a pilot is that the responsibility is so high, the competition is so great.
Okay.
You need to be sure that you're the very best you can be, and not have any black marks or X's or
Right.
things that you wish you had done or wish you
Hmm.
hadn't have done,
Yeah.
things like that. So I would tread very lightly.
Yeah.
Um, I think LinkedIn is great,
Hmm.
and I think positivity on social media is great to
Okay.
have a presence, but only positive. I would say be careful about the opinions you express.
One of my questions was, if a student, does it count as like a blemish on a student's record if they fail something like a check ride, and how is that looked at in the airlines?
That's a really good question.
Hmm.
I think most everybody has a check ride failure of one kind or another.
Hmm.
First of all, if you aren't completely transparent and don't put that out forthright on your applications, that's going to kick you out of the running completely.
Wow.
I think one of the most important qualities in a pilot is
Hmm.
integrity,
Mm.
and having a check ride failure, being prepared with an answer to say why you think it happened, what you learned. And
Mhm.
most of the time, the pilots that we would hire would say, I'm grateful for the experience. It taught me this.
Mhm.
You kind of come full circle. You don't feel that way immediately after it happens,
Right.
but you have to, it's important to own it.
Mhm.
And it's important to be as just as open and honest
Right.
and kind of, just reveal, yeah, I did this and here's why. And the reason that that is so important is because once you're a pilot and you're flying a 777 or a 787, if you have a problem or you do something that's wrong,
Mhm.
they need to know that you're going to come forward with that.
Right.
They need to know that that's your mindset,
Right.
that you would do it based on safety, that you're a big enough person to come forward and say, yes, I messed up,
Right.
because we all do. Nobody's
Right.
perfect. But I think that that is how that incorporates into your life
Mhm.
as a pilot.
Absolutely. We one of our previous interviews with one of the captains of one of the airlines. I don't remember who it was. It could have been Joe Johnson, but I don't want to be wrong about misquoting it. But they were talking about when something didn't go correctly, that you mention it no matter what. And he thought that was a crazy. That guest thought it was a crazy idea to want to tell on yourself, but it's not about that. It's about communicating that. Hey, and for the sake of taking in information so that we have data to say many pilots are missing this thing, even though it wasn't a big mistake where someone crashed or something. There's nothing like that. It's more like, oh, everyone's having this trouble in this part of the flow. We could probably optimize that a little bit better.
Yes.
And so it kind of plays into it all the way down to that, in my opinion. I kind of relate it to that.
Yeah.
It's about being transparent.
But was it John DeLue maybe? That
It might have been him
Yeah.
that said it, yes,
He's
because we were talking about the
fascinating guy.
safety. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't checked out that episode, go check it out.
Um,
Okay, so while students are training to get their certificates and prepare to get maybe a job as a CFI or something to build hours, it's not too early to start thinking about how to prepare for your career. If anything, you should absolutely be doing that. So some of my questions are going to be about that. For example, um, what are some things that you're working on for students currently to be doing here at Thrust, maybe to prepare for their career?
well, I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
Actually, I joined an organization last week, and it's the North Texas Business Aviation Association.
Okay.
And there are so many sponsors, big, big sponsors, and they are trying to start a young professionals club.
Okay.
And they have agreed to let our Thrust students join for free for a
Okay.
year.
Okay.
So I think that that would be the place to start. So we're going to kind of get that going.
Mm-hmm.
But networking, you cannot do it too early. And think about what you want while you're training.
Right.
Pay attention to what features. I think that's a cool thing about being a pilot is you can choose so many different paths.
Right.
Look at, think about what fits for you, what would satisfy you, what would be your ultimate goal.
Right.
So be thinking about that and network, volunteer. There's some volunteer opportunities with this organization. So you'll be dealing with the board of directors, and it's just an opportunity for them to get to know how fantastic our Thrust students are. I've been
Right.
so impressed with everybody I've met.
Mhm.
Just stellar people.
That's really awesome that you say that. And the networking piece comes up often. And I just like to revisit this because when I was younger, talking about networking felt like what? Go there and ask for help from strangers? Like, I don't get it. But I think now that maybe because I'm older or maybe because I've seen examples of it now uh, from our students on the podcast, getting involved in a group or some sort of organization or something like that, it would allow you to get exposed to more things in aviation. Yes, you want to meet someone who could maybe write you a letter. That's great, right? But obviously, it doesn't feel maybe integral to go somewhere looking for that. But that is the result of going somewhere and exposing yourself to the industry, I think. And I guess I just wanted to point that out, that it doesn't have to feel like you're going somewhere and asking strangers for help. Just getting involved and meeting people and understanding what they did. And then you never know, you could make the connections you might want to might want to make.
And I think when you join an organization or volunteer your time, you go in with the mindset of giving. Just that you're there to give, and then the receiving and the networking and getting to know people that can help you or eventually help you is a natural flow from that.
And this may be a somewhat of it's like a very hypothetical question, but a student, what if they feel like I don't have anything to give? Like, what do you think that there's an answer to that?
Yes, I think going to a brand new organization or volunteering, you're going to feel really awkward right at first. So just be ready for that, and you just kind of push on through that. I think presence, just being there, talking to other people, welcoming other people, getting to know other people, those are things that you're giving. Computer like website, they need help with their website, helping with camps. I mean, just being there, doing really simple things, but giving your time and giving your effort.
I was hoping that that's kind of the way you would go about it and answer that, because I think people underestimate their presence and just being somewhere. And like you said, simple tasks like maybe someone needs a volunteer for a camp or for a booth they're setting up or something like that. And those things go so far, because once you get to a point where you're looking for someone to help you, you realize how hard it is to find someone. Actually, you think there's so many students out there that can help you, but if they're not in those groups, it's hard to find sometimes. So,
or volunteering at schools during career days.
Yeah,
I mean, there's just so many ways to volunteer.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. If you could hand every student a checklist of things to do before they graduate, before they start looking for CFI positions or whatever position they might be looking for, what would be on that checklist?
Well, we talked about keeping personal records for 10 years. I would say go ahead and start doing that. The logbooks, we kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
Networking, for sure.
Okay.
And then I think the final thing would be two things. Be open to any opportunity. I think most jobs at airlines, that you start in a beginner role. And I know at Delta at the time, it didn't matter if you had your degree or it just didn't matter. You were going to start at an entry-level job.
Right.
So there are so many opportunities that don't look good when you first do that. It's like, but wait, I have my degree. I don't want to start here.
Yeah.
But they morph into things that really turn out great.
Right.
So I'd be very open-minded about the opportunities that come your way, and that open-mindedness is a space for good things to happen.
Right.
Other than that, in the aviation industry, I would say there are so many ups and downs. It's a very cyclical business. You're going to have some highs, super highs, and you're going to have some lows. You could get furloughed. Just be prepared for what comes your way.
Right. That makes sense.
And it always comes back.
Right. It does.
Yeah.
And the skill set is it's very desired, but it's also very niche. So if you're an experienced, I imagine that. I always wondered, if you're in the airlines and let's say you get furloughed, how does that sort of thing go afterwards? Are you able to speak to that at all?
Well, before COVID, we had a new hire class, and we'd given them the conditional job offers, done the background checks, all that stuff, and then COVID hit. We went ahead and hired them, but they didn't get to fly for a while.
Okay.
But so when you're furloughed, you still have your flight benefits, but you're not paid.
Right.
And all of that is seniority based, so they start at the bottom and go up however many that they need.
Yeah.
And then when things are better, they'll call you back.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Oh, okay. Because to me, I didn't understand what a furlough really was. I felt like a firing, but it's not that. Okay. Okay.
Decrease in demand.
A copy. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you for that. Is there things that students commonly do that kind of have you seen things that students commonly do that sort of hurt their chances of getting hired?
I would say just just keep your nose clean. Don't
Yeah.
get in trouble, because that right there would be knock you out of the running completely.
Right.
I'll just segue into this. American has a program. It's called the Wingman Program,
Okay.
and it's a place where you can go if you feel like you've got a problem that you're having trouble dealing with. So it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be pornography, whatever it is. So this is kind of the mentality. If you can go and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me?" There are lots of resources for that.
Okay.
But on the flip side of that coin is the HIMSS program.
Oh, yes.
And that's what you don't want, because that's after you've made a mistake, you've blemished your record, and it's a whole different process.
Right, and that's through the FAA, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're no longer working. It's no longer preventative. It's reactionary almost, right? And you're
Yes.
having to keep up.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've had a couple of people talk about the HIMSS program just by having to go through not being totally prepared for their medical, and maybe having had like set themselves up not for the best success. They have to go through the HIMSS program sometimes and get things straightened out. And I hear it's a lot of work.
Yes. We're going to have Captain Charlie Courier come and speak on Thrust Day in August.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And he's a retired wingman from American, and he works in mental health with pilots exclusively.
Okay.
And that's such an important aspect to grasp, because you really don't want to be on the flip side of that.
Right, absolutely. I got you. Okay, well, thank you. And if you're listening, by the way, we've talked about Thrust Day a few times now. Thrust Day is our monthly event. It's typically an open house at this point. If you're interested in flight training, or if you're already in flight training, you're just curious about how we do it because you've seen all our videos and stuff like that, then you go ahead and visit us on a Thrust Day and see what we're all about. We have games, students, free food, and speakers. That's usually speakers from the industry, which is a nice insight to have. And I'd just like to invite anyone who's listening right now to a Thrust Day at a Thrust flight near you. We have quite a few locations at this point. Just Google it. And yeah, I'd like you guys to see what we're all about, or at least get some insight for yourself, even if you're already a student somewhere. That being said, I do want to ask you about, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, is there any other extracurriculars or maybe even leadership opportunities that people should be paying attention to that could help separate them when it comes to looking for an entry to their career?
Yes. A lot of airlines, and I know FlexJet, they offer internships during the summer. And there was one pilot I knew really well at American, and he started as an intern. So that is definitely a foot in the door. So that, and attend some of the aviation conferences. And once your hours are close to being hired, maybe at a regional, we do, or American used to do meet and greets.
Right.
So you can spend like 15 minutes with an interviewing pilot. They can look at your resume. They can give you some pointers. You could have specific questions. Should I do A or B? They can help you with that. So when you attend a conference, if you have an application on file,
right, there's
a checkbox that goes by your name that you attended.
Yeah.
And every time you attend, that helps. And I know that they're expensive. That is not a sole avenue to do. That is not just, it helps. It's not like
the only way you have to,
and spending the money, like a lot of money to fly somewhere and get there, and then the conference, it's not that important. It's something you can do along with other things.
Right.
And if you watch all that, you can sign up ahead of time for interviews once you're further along in your career. And that's really good, because they get a sense of you. And then if you're interviewed later, if these are not interviews for hiring, they're interviews to get to know you better. It's just a more the next step after the meet and greet.
Right, gotcha. So there's an opportunity to actually touch base with these people a bit more, and allow them an opportunity to get to know you.
Yes.
And you get to know them. You get some feedback. I'm imagining, do people kind of find mentors in those kind of ways?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's another thing I would encourage anybody to do is find a mentor.
Hmm.
I've heard so many stories about this person. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for
Right.
this person, and the paying it forward thing again.
That's what I hear often. Yeah, and do does becoming a CFI or even sort of a chief CFI at a flight school, do those sort of things become recognized on an application?
Yes,
Okay, that's what I
definitely
was wondering.
stand out.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I like to ask these questions for our students because there is a lot to think about. And I think that sometimes you're like, oh, I'll just figure out after. But our students know that, and there's lots of students all over the country, right? But our students know that they're being watched from day one about whether or not we should maybe hire them as a CFI. And there's room to grow always. If anything, growth is a positive if we
Yes.
can see that in you. I'm losing my voice. Okay. So our students know that they're being watched from day one to see if they're going to be a possible candidate as a CFI, and so it's never too early to start thinking about these things. The airline landscape is something that's commonly discussed online. It's always a topic. I'm wondering if I could ask you a few questions about that. One of those being, how has the climate for hiring shifted recently, and if it has at all, and what should students be paying attention to kind of plan out their timeline?
Well, I think everybody's just a little worried that maybe that they've missed the window of all the big hiring.
Yeah.
To that, I would say the stage that we've been in
Mm.
22, 23, it was a hiring frenzy,
Yeah.
and that is no longer in place.
Right.
And to explain that a little bit, airlines truly had no idea what was going to happen. I
Right.
mean, not a clue. What
Yeah.
what in the world's going to happen?
Yeah.
So we offered American offered outs for some of the senior captains,
Hmm.
and many took them.
Hmm.
And so when the demand for travel came back in a very robust way,
Yes.
so did the hiring.
Right.
And it was like, oh my goodness, we got to hire, we got to hire, we got to hire.
Exactly.
Um, but now I think airlines have learned their lesson because it's a big machine to get it rolling, and
Right.
if it's better to keep it rolling slowly
Right.
rather than just stop it completely. So airlines, I believe, are just going to continue to hire.
Hmm.
There's still the 65-year retirement age.
Right.
But I think now is more of just a regular time. It's not a downtime. It's just not a frenzy where it was.
Right. It's stable. It's a little more stabilized, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But the retirements up to 2030 are they're there, and that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And a captain retires, so a first officer moves over, and then we hire somebody to flow through Envoy,
Right.
and then the first officer from Envoy moves over to be a captain. So it's just a cycle,
Right.
and it is definitely going.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that. And that's what it is. That's what the conversation is. It's like it's not really a pilot shortage. I'm like, well, the shortage still exists. It's just not quite what it was there for a
Yes,
second.
yes,
That was a heightened sense of shortage or
yes,
need or demand. So that makes sense. As was a lot of things in that around that time.
yes.
Uh, okay, great. And the regional versus the majors. Is there a traditional stepping stone or like a traditional path that is still kind of like the smartest route? I kind of asked you this earlier, but I'm wondering, does it benefit someone to maybe go on to a corporate job beforehand, or does that make a difference at all?
I think your flying hours,
Hmm.
your history, what you've done,
Hmm.
um, makes a big difference.
Right.
Like, is it more difficult flying, or
Mm.
just flying with a banner,
Right.
that type of thing?
Hmm.
Pilot in command is a huge thing.
Okay.
That is just about those are the best hours you can get. I
Okay.
don't think that there is necessarily a path that is better than another.
Hmm.
Um, although, even though there's the flow program,
Hmm.
if you're a standout candidate, you're going to get the interview too.
Right.
I think just thinking about the quality of your hours,
Hmm.
and pilot in command is what I would say focus on.
Right, because and I guess I'll put this in a question. You could have 15 hours, 1,500 hours. There's a lot of focus on that. Um, how much weight does that hold on an applicant's application? Because you can see the number, but you'll look at what you were flying during those hours. You'll also look at the other options, the other things. Does 1,500 hours entitle you to a job?
No, no,
I just kind of want to get to that point. That's what it is.
no. Um, it's always competitive.
Hmm.
So that gets your foot in the door.
Right.
And then it's your personality. Being humble, I think, is really important.
Hmm.
All those different things, really preparing for the interview.
Right.
I think it's really obvious to interviewers if you've prepared or if you
Hmm.
didn't.
Right.
And it makes such an impression on them.
Hmm.
And my mom always told me, dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Right.
And that should be the mindset in everything you do leading up to that.
Hmm.
And respect.
Yeah.
There's like you say, once you walk in the door, you are being watched by
Yeah.
everybody.
Right.
And it's equally important that you are able to work well in a company, that you're going to treat the gate agent, the pilots, the passengers,
Yeah.
your cockpit mate.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be treated with respect, and that's
Right.
a quality that they really look for.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And I know that we've kind of talked a lot about what are they looking for from an applicant throughout this whole conversation. I guess I just like to put that out there. It's not, you can be shooting for that 1,500 hours, but if all you have by the time you get there is 1,500 hours, and you're looking for ways to stand out, maybe don't rush to the 1,500 is what I've kind of gotten out of some of the airline pilots. There's a little bit more to consider. I'd like to zoom out a little bit and ask you if there's someone out there right now, and maybe they're a student and they're feeling a little uneasy about what's next for them. Are you able to kind of say anything that would make them feel like they could have clarity on their next steps? Maybe they're in, I don't know, instrument or commercial training now. What would you say to a student to encourage them about their career path?
It's a huge investment
Hmm.
of time and energy and money,
Hmm.
and that it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's I think people look at an airline pilot and think, oh, it's not that hard.
Right.
Um, this profession requires effort and expertise and
Right.
studying the whole way through. And other people have done it. So if other people have done it, you could do it.
Yeah.
I will add, when our pilots used to come in for their training,
Hmm.
they have to be trained every year. They do like a 4-hour sim, and
Yeah.
they know what's coming.
Right.
They brief on that, so even though they know it's coming,
Hmm.
when they're done, they're just wiped out.
Yeah.
It's just so much work and it's
Mm.
hard, but it sets you apart from other people. So I would just say, find a mentor if you're having trouble, and stay positive, and
Yeah.
don't be afraid. Just keep pushing forward.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that. And then maybe there's someone out there, like we mentioned earlier, that's still thinking about whether or not they want to start their flight training. Is I think the common things that come up for these people are, okay, it's expensive. It's a time commitment, like you said before. Is there even a demand? Is there job security? Some of those things. I think obviously the expense of flight training is like one of the biggest, but I'm wondering, they want to do it. What would you say to someone who knows they want to start flight training but kind of is just a little scared to do so?
I would say it's a fabulous career.
Hmm.
I've known a lot of captains at American Airlines. They
Hmm.
make great money,
Hmm.
they have a great lifestyle, and when they retire at age 65, that was one of the most difficult things. We would have a retirement party for them,
Uh-huh.
and pretending that you're happy or that they're happy about retiring
Hmm.
was difficult.
Yeah.
I've never seen a profession where people didn't want to retire like pilots. They just love it, and they've got a special club. And this one guy was retiring, and he said, "We all know what it's like up there." take care or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just fabulous. I don't think it ever loses its appeal.
Hmm.
It's a very enjoyable job, and
Hmm.
most people afterwards, it's a great life. That's what
Yeah.
I'd say.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you again for sharing that. We've been talking for a little bit of time here, and I want to say thank you for everything you've shared and sitting down and talking to me and helping me understand some of the ways that students can maneuver through their training and prepare for a career. And that's why we have you here. So we're happy to have you not only in the seat next to me right now, but on staff here at Thrust. So that's exciting. So once again, thanks for sitting down and talking to me
I
on
enjoyed
this
it.
episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. Thank you, Julie. Thank you guys for listening. My name is Zach, and I'll see you on the next episode next week.